The formal process of giving feedback, the 6 P's. Each step is important in our preparation for giving feedback with a key focus on preparation. And that's the first P. We talk about preparation, the place, and paperwork. Now this is also a practice. And what I mean by that is that I'm inviting you to grab your notebook and a pen. In this practice, I'd like you to actually be thinking about your own little mini case study, your own example. And so on the top of the page, write feedback and practice. And the first item you'll write down is the name of the person you have in mind that you would like to give feedback to. Now, you might have several people, so go ahead, either write their names or write their initials so you have them in mind. If you have multiple people, put them in columns across the top of your page. So you might have 3 or 4 columns, if you'd like, with the name of the person at the top of the page. Think about the place where you would be meeting each of them. So the location might be at a coffee shop, in their office, in your office, might be over the telephone, or might be a Skype call. Think about the locality of where this interaction is going to take place and write that down. Note, if you can, the date and time. Think about perhaps the working schedule of that person. Think about what is convenient for them. If it is feedback for somebody that is in Asia, in Singapore, for example, or Hong Kong, and you're located in Texas, we have to think about the time that works for them. So be very aware of the time and potentially the date. Double check, make sure it doesn't fall on somebody's holiday, whether it's a cultural holiday, a country holiday, or just a personal event. Part of the preparation is also what I call the paperwork, and that is simply to research, to fully understand the situation as it exists in reality. It's just a method of collecting the data. So the data can be collected from having a few interviews with some other people. You might be pulling a report, for example. You might actually do a little analysis. Are they meeting their quarterly requirements? Are they exceeding them? Or whatever the circumstance is around the feedback, understand the details. The second P now is the purpose. Now you'll notice on the screen, as it says, there's purpose and partner. But the purpose is really about understanding what is the bigger purpose of giving feedback. The purpose of giving feedback is to motivate, inspire, challenge people to change a behavior, perhaps to correct a behavior, but also to improve. So knowing that purpose, we want to be able to set it in a context that's meaningful for the individual. What do they care about most? What's important to them? How do you tie this change in behavior to a higher purpose that they care a lot about? Could be the purpose of the whole team, the purpose of the project, could be the individual's purpose, why they come to work every day. We do that in part also to create rapport. Before the meeting begins, being honest, authentic, be really genuine about purpose of the meeting, but also about the success of that individual. So we have to connect with them both at the rational level, that's the easy part, and the emotional level. And that's where we have conversation about how it's going in general, how it's going with their family. But it has to be authentic. It has to be based on what you already know and conversations you have outside of these conversations where feedback is involved. Why do we take these few minutes to talk about building rapport? It's important to de-stress. Remember, we talked about why people avoid both giving and receiving feedback? Well, they're probably stressed out. And as we discussed, the stress levels increases the cortisol levels, which is a stress response. So we want to let people know, reassure them that you're a partner in this change with them. You're a partner in their success. And by that I mean that you're working side by side and not mano a mano, not confrontational, you against them. You want to bring yourself alongside that person and put the issue out in front of you so both of you have the perspective that you're working together side by side, looking at the item that's to be corrected or the item that's to be addressed. It's the third party in the room, and that gives you that opportunity to build really meaningful rapport. The third P is praise, praising the positives. And praising the positives isn't superficial. In fact, it is intended to be profoundly meaningful. And by that I mean we want to acknowledge people for who they are, what they contribute, their value to the relationship between you and them, and their value to your organization, the value that they create. And as we acknowledge that, that gives people courage, and the courage to take what suggestions you're about to make in the feedback. Praising the positives is a great way to leverage creating that sense of openness that somebody's going to be willing to take your suggestions. So we'll be addressing the performance, and the performance is whether it is corrective or it is to encourage even greater opportunity to challenge the individual. It has to do with the performance. And in a moment, we're going to actually learn the structure for giving that feedback in the three-step method called the ABCs of feedback. At this point, recognize and acknowledge the behavior that is to be changed, and then we address it with the ABCs. As we are conducting the meeting, paraphrase to check for understanding. It's a way to demonstrate listening. Listening is one of the key skills of influencing other people. And paraphrasing prevents us from parroting back what we've already heard. Did I get it right? Here's my understanding from how you saw it. From your perspective, it looked like this, etc. So paraphrasing is a way to, again, be very authentic, but to ensure that you have heard them from their point of view and not from your own. If they interrupt and go, no, that's not the point I was trying to make. Go, I'm really sorry. Please just repeat it. I really want to get this. This is how we check for understanding. It's a way we discipline ourselves and hold ourselves accountable during these meetings. The final P is powerful probing for deeper conversation. Now, the probing questions allow us to have a deeper appreciation for the person. We use these powerful probes to learn more about the situation, to get more data. And that data can be used in future conversation. But the powerful probing questions are an excellent tool for us to have. So go back to your work page, your notebook, and complete the page where you are preparing your feedback. What is the purpose of the meeting? What is the bigger purpose in the project the person is working on? What are the positives that you can praise about that person, and do it authentically, genuinely? What do you like about the person? What do you realize that they bring? What asset and value do they create? Identify what is the specific performance, the challenge, or the opportunity that you're going to be bringing to their attention and working on changing an outcome based on your feedback. Listen carefully, paraphrase what you're hearing, and develop a skill to ask better questions, and use the powerful questions and probing questions to discover more about the person for future conversations. Go ahead, take a few minutes now and complete that page, because we'll pull out one example in the next step as we examine each of these aspects and then drill down into the ABCs of feedback.